This episode has been brought to you by the Rah Rah Spirit Team. Building a business can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. We teach small and medium-sized businesses strategies for building a profitable, successful, stress-free business and life. Because guess what? You are more than your business. Through one-on-one training, online courses, and monthly guest experts, the Spirit Team is built on the principle of building each other up in business and in spirit. Try it for 14 days for free. Just head to rahrahconsulting.com and check out the Rah Rah Spirit Team. Hey, it's Lauren, and welcome to the podcast. So on the show today, I spoke with May Thanda, and she's a Pinterest expert. Now, I will tell you that I am still learning a lot about Pinterest. I've always loved it. I've been on the platform for years and years and years, but I was always on the platform as a user, pinning and adding things to my boards and looking for inspiration and doing my vision boards and stuff like that. And I recently realized that I really wanted to take my business next level, and I wanted to see what Pinterest was all about to determine whether or not I was going to, invest my time in it. One of the things I learned from this conversation is that, yes, I need to focus on Pinterest. May shared so many helpful tips. She was such an asset to, helping me to understand how Pinterest can be used to take my business further. And I'm so grateful for all the information that she shared. So it's all here. It's all for you. Get your pen and paper and listen in, because May shares so many do's all through the episode. You really, really want to listen all the way to the end, because at the end, she also tells you if there's anything that you need to remember, it's this, and you don't want to miss that. All right, let's get to the episode. Enjoy. I'm not keeping the video, just keep the audio. Okay, so I'll just start off. Hi, I'm Lauren, and welcome to the show. My guest today is May Thanda. She's a Pinterest strategist, helping online entrepreneurs attract their dream clients, increase their visibility and sales by using Pinterest as a marketing tool. She worked as a life insurance product development manager for 10 years before diving into the world of online business. She is on a mission to help small business owners navigate the waters of online marketing with less overwhelm and more ease. May is joining me on the show today to set me straight in the world of Pinterest and let you at home know how Pinterest can help you evolve your business. May, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Lauren.
This is so great. So our listeners at home don't know this, but May and I have been online friends for like 6 to 9 months or something like that? Yeah. And then this is actually the first time we've talked on Zoom. So it's pretty cool. So May, tell me a bit about yourself. I mean, you started in life insurance, and then now you're working, running your own show. Can you tell me a bit about how that transition happened and why?
So I worked in the life insurance industry for over about 10 years. And, I always had the desire to start my own business. And I always wondered what's life on the other side of the employee life.
Yes.
So I was doing a lot of reading during my commuting time, trying to, think of business ideas. How can I start a business that will fit my skills, something that would allow me to have a flexible lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so I initially started a side hustle selling baby gifts online. I made diaper kits and sold online. I had a Shopify website for a while. And then later on, I realized that I didn't enjoy being an e-commerce business owner because tracking the stocks monitoring the stocks and managing all the shipping. I didn't enjoy that. So as I read more, I found that you can start online as a virtual assistant. So at the start of 2018, I started as a social media virtual assistant. After my son was born, I realized that, I wanted to be more around him, but it took me 2 years to finally start, to muster up the courage to finally start my own business. So when my son was 2, sometime in 2018, I decided to leave my job and started my social media VA business. When I was doing my side hustle, I learned a thing or two about social media.
Yes.
So that's how, I got the idea to start as a social media VA. So at that time, I was helping clients with Facebook, Instagram, and also Pinterest. Although Pinterest was still new to me, I loved using Pinterest as a user.
Yeah.
But using it from a business perspective, I realized it's different.
Yeah.
And interestingly, my very first client was a Pinterest management client. She was happy with the results. So a few months later, she started referring me to her friends. So I had more Pinterest management clients than other, Facebook or Instagram clients.
Okay.
From there, I realized that I really enjoy working with Pinterest, and I saw the potential that Pinterest offers to businesses. I wanted to dive deeper into Pinterest. And so 9 months after I started my social media VA business, I decided to specialize in Pinterest.
The thing about Pinterest is that I've never met anybody who doesn't love Pinterest. And,
Yes.
I'm going to let our listeners know at home that, I did my first business pin just the other day, and I sent it to May, and I was super happy, and she set me straight because I didn't do the best job. So we're going to talk about that in a minute, because I thought you gave me some really great feedback. But before that, I do just want to ask you a little bit about your online business. So I know you're based in Singapore. How common is it to have an online business?
Oh, it's very rare. In fact, many of my friends don't know what I'm doing. And
yeah.
And I had a hard time looking for, other local business owners who has a similar online business as me. The only online business known locally is an e-commerce seller. But luckily, I found one or two, other online business owners who are based in Singapore, and I was so happy to find them.
Yeah. So are you networking with them and kind of supporting each other?
Yes. We connect with each other on Instagram, and we met once.
Yeah, no, it's so cool. And I think that now with, we're recording this at the end of July 2020, and, COVID is still very prominent, but, I would imagine, and I kind of talked a bit off the talk here, about how this is really changing the way that people do business. Do you think that maybe there's going to be more online businesses sort of cropping up in your area of the world after the COVID, experience is kind of, realized, or, I guess finished?
That's possible. That's very likely.
Yeah.
I guess we will see in a few months' time.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's get into Pinterest, because I know this is what you're very good at, and I need all the help I can get, May, because I'm one of those people who I love Pinterest. I have a personal account with over 3,000 pins. I've been very busy. And recently I started my Rah Rah Consulting Pinterest account as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started that account, my whole theory was that if I'm going to be hanging out on my couch, maybe having a wine or something, and I want to be doing something on Pinterest, I might as well do it from my business account to start to build my name, right? Now, obviously we know that a couple days ago, I actually put my first pin out there, but it was a little bit more complicated than what I originally thought. So can you tell me a bit about how, businesses can now use Pinterest to work for their advantage?
Okay, so unlike other social media platforms, Pinterest works like a search engine. Many people tend to mistake Pinterest for a social media platform. So they tend to use it like how they would use Facebook or Instagram. The thing with Pinterest is that it works more like a Google. It's just that it shows up the search results in images.
Yeah, and I think because it's an app too, sometimes people think that maybe that's why they get it confused with being social media. But yeah, you're right. You do kind of put it into the social media category over the Google search. Yeah.
Yes. I guess the difference between Pinterest and Instagram, for example, or Facebook, is that Instagram and Facebook, they are great for building relationships with other business owners, and then telling your brand story. Whereas for Pinterest, people are looking for ideas and inspiration and, solutions to their problem. So if you create any type of content, let's say you have a blog, you can put up your content on Pinterest. And when people find your content, they can click on your pin and they go to your website. In essence, Pinterest is a traffic driver, whereas for Instagram and Facebook, they are more like, a relationship building, the real social media.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, especially for people like me who don't have more than 10,000 followers on Instagram, getting people to go to my website is really what I want them to do. I want to drive traffic, or even if I want to drive traffic anywhere else, like my YouTube channel, for example, or my podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you're obviously going to be limited with Instagram, but what I'm hearing you saying from Pinterest is if you think about it in terms of Google, then what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing is you're saying, hey, you want to go here. This is how to get, this is like a direct path,
Yes, exactly.
but it's done in a beautiful way.
Yeah, nice, attractive visuals.
Yes.
The other thing is Pinterest, wants to connect users with content creators or business owners by linking them through your content. The thing with other social media platforms is that they want you to stay on their platform.
Yeah.
Which is why on Instagram, you'll see there's only one link in your bio. So when you have a post, I have a new blog post, go to the link in my bio, and then you have to go to the profile and click on that link. Maybe 2 months down the road, you have a different link on your bio.
Yeah.
On Pinterest, that you have an individual link for individual pin that you post, and that pin stays on Pinterest for a long time. I have pins from 2 years ago that are still bringing me in traffic until today. Pinterest is really a long-term platform. So you can think about it like Google. The longer you have your website around and the more consistent you are with your content, you're updating your website, Google will start recognizing you and bring you more traffic to your website.
Yeah.
In the same way on Pinterest, the longer you're around on Pinterest, your pins remain there and they will keep bringing you traffic.
Okay. So it's almost like a reward system. The more that you're showing up on their platform, the more likely
Yes.
they are to drive, because then you're going to get more results as well, which is what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So who primarily uses Pinterest? Because whenever I talk to people about Pinterest, it's always women and they all love it.
Women still make the majority of Pinterest users, but you may be surprised that men makes up about 40% of new signups.
Oh, wow.
In recent years. Yeah, so the percentage of men on Pinterest is growing gradually. To answer your question about the question of who should be on Pinterest, Pinterest used to be known as, that platform to look for recipes or home decor ideas.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there are so many categories within Pinterest. You can find any kind of niche on Pinterest today. You can even find real estate agents, accountants. Basically, instead of thinking about what niche you are in, you can think it in terms of whether you create content in the form of your blog post, a podcast, a video like a YouTube video or Facebook Lives. As long as you're creating regular content that educate people, give inspiration to people, you can use Pinterest. You can be on Pinterest actually. Of course, if you are a product seller, as long as you have regular products to upload on Pinterest, you can be on Pinterest as well.
You're kind of making me realize that I have a lot of things I need to do better. I have a podcast. I do blog updates every week. I do social media posts of different content across all my platforms. And when I say all my platforms, I mean primarily Facebook and Instagram. And then I do some YouTube, and Twitter, not really. I realized that I haven't been using Pinterest to my advantage at all. And I think that when you were just talking there, you were talking a lot about how it's for content creators. And when I
Mhm.
think about my own business, I'm
Mhm.
doing a hell of a lot of content creation,
Mhm.
but I'm not putting any of it on Pinterest. And I think it's because I never really saw it as being advantageous for my business. So I know that Pinterest is made up primarily of pins and of boards. And you've already
Right.
talked about how there are so many different categories for everything. If you're in a service-based business, if you're in a
Mhm.
brick and mortar business, if you've got, any products that you're selling, recipes, home decor, like
Yes.
DIY, all that, right? So there's a whole range of content creation that's happening on that platform. Why do you think businesses aren't using it more? Is it because they don't know about it, or it's difficult to learn how to use it for a
Yeah,
business?
I think it's both. Um, Many business owners are still not aware that, Pinterest functions that way, like a search engine, or that their topic can still be helpful on Pinterest. So they tend to focus their efforts, especially service-based business owners.
Yeah.
They tend to focus their efforts on Instagram or Facebook or other platforms. Uh, and yes, Pinterest is, I hear all the time from people that, Pinterest can be so overwhelming. That's because Pinterest functions differently than
Yeah.
other social media platforms, like I said.
Okay, so I'm not getting a lot of traffic or organic traffic
Mhm.
as much on Instagram or Facebook. And I know that I haven't really been, like Rah Rah is still kind of a new business.
Mhm.
And really, I've just really kind of, put the um, put the car in drive like in the last
Mhm.
few months. So it's not surprising to me that I haven't been getting the kind of traction that I will be getting in the future. But I guess where I'm going with this is that, you know, organic reach is very difficult to get on a lot of the social media platforms. And so I
Yes.
can't help but wonder what the organic reach is like on Pinterest and even how that works. Because when you put up a pin,
Mhm.
how does it gain momentum? You're talking about getting results from pins you've put up 2 years ago. So, primarily about the organic reach, let's talk about that for a minute if we can.
One thing I found is that many business owners, when they get started with Pinterest, they put up a few pin here and there, and then they saw that no results, nothing coming in, so they give up altogether. Maybe they try it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The thing with Pinterest is that it's a long-term marketing platform. When you upload a new pin, it takes 10 days for Pinterest to actually, recognize your pin and decide where to show your pin
Oh,
using your, so they are during that period they're trying to read your keywords, your images, to decide where to place your pin. And another reason it takes a while for your pins to get seen is because when you're new, you don't have a lot of pins yet, your visibility on Pinterest is still very low, so not many people will see your pins. Pinterest also look at high engagement, in order to show your pins more. So let's say you put up a pin, you have done your keyword research, you put the right keywords in there, your pin looks attractive. You don't have to worry so much about your pins not showing up. Within a month or so, you will start seeing some, impressions and some saves or clicks on your pins. The more Pinterest will show your pin to more people. So
okay.
it kind of snowballs in the long term,
Yes.
in the long run. That's how viral pins, if you have heard of viral pins.
I have not heard of viral pins, but I am now. But it makes sense
Okay.
that there would be a viral pin. That makes sense.
Yeah, so viral pins is how that happens when, when someone sees when your pin is very attractive, yeah, and people start to engage with your pin, and the more engage with that, the more Pinterest show it to people, and that's how the viral, the it starts
Yeah.
to snowball to become a viral pin. Another thing to take note is your Pinterest account takes a while to take shape. So when you are a new account, you should wait about 3 months to actually decide for yourself whether what you're doing on Pinterest it's working, is really bringing traffic. Another
Okay.
thing I wanted to add is that Pinterest is a platform that requires consistency. It's not enough that you put up one pin today and then wait for magic to happen. You
Okay.
have to pin daily. And I would say a minimum of 5 to start with, and then you can increase to about 10, 15 daily.
Are you talking about original pins, May, or are you
You
talking
can
about you can repin as well? Does that count?
it can be, it's a mix of both.
Okay.
So but of course you want to make sure that you have your own original content,
Yeah.
and you upload regular new content to Pinterest. Of course, not all of us have, the time to come up with new content all the time. So what you can do is you can have more than one pin image for the same content, so that you expand your reach with Pinterest by putting up more than one pin on the same content. So Pinterest loves new images, new content. So as
Right.
long as you are consistently putting out new images, new URLs, Pinterest will start to notice your account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you schedule pins, May? Because when you're talking about that, I'm going, oh my God, a lot of the, content that I do or the social stuff when I'm posting, I try to actually sit down and do it for like 2 to 3 weeks at one time. Is that
Yes.
an option with Pinterest?
Yes, you can do that. But if you're using Pinterest directly, if you're just pinning and repinning on Pinterest, it's gonna take you the whole day, to schedule a week's worth of pins. And
Yeah.
because you need to be pinning, let's say 5 to 10 pins daily, a mix of your own and others, the
Mhm.
best way to do that is to use a scheduling platform. My favorite is Tailwind. That's
Okay.
they are the Pinterest official partner. Tailwind allows you to schedule up your pins, months ahead if you can,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
weeks ahead. And they also let you. They also determine the best times to post for you, so you don't have to think about that.
Oh, so you just
Yeah.
put, here's my pin, here's my link,
Yes.
ding, and then they go, we'll
Yes.
schedule this for you.
Yes. So let's say if you have a social media pin, a social
Yeah.
media tips blog post,
Yeah.
and you schedule it on Tailwind. You can schedule to more than one board at the same time, so that you increase your chances of your pin getting seen. So let's say you have a social media tips pin. You have a board called business tips. You have a board called social media tips. You have a board called maybe
Facebook.
online marketing
Yeah. Yeah.
board. So all these, your social media pin falls under all these names, right? All these topics.
Great.
So you
Yeah.
can pin that pin to these three boards at the same, not at the same time, by spacing out a few days in between, which you can schedule it in Tailwind. If you were to do that on Pinterest, you have to keep uploading individual pins to pin to individual boards, and you have to do it
Right.
on 3 separate days, for example. You're gonna go crazy doing all this on Pinterest.
Okay. Okay. I understand. So I guess okay. So when I went and did my pin, we'll talk about that in a minute because that's like a bigger
Mhm.
story and may help me out. But, clearly I need to wait to see the benefits of this. When I go to pin something that I've already pinned, Pinterest is like, you've already pinned this. And so I wasn't sure whether or not I should be pinning the same pin in multiple boards. But it sounds like there's an advantage to having multiple boards that
Mhm.
that your pin can go into a variety of different, I guess if you look
That's
at
right.
boards like categories almost.
Yes. And
Okay.
Pinterest also reads the keywords on your boards. So if you have a board that's called social media marketing, and you have a pin that's called social media marketing tips, um, Pinterest sees this pin as highly relevant to the search term. If someone is looking for social media tips, you have a
Okay.
board called social media marketing, and you have a pin called social media tips inside it.
Oh,
So,
so they're going to
so
rank you higher.
yes. So
Yeah.
if you have another board called online marketing tips and social media tips, that's also relevant, right? The two topics are very linked to each other.
Right.
So that's why when I come up with board ideas for new clients, I would think of the niche topics that their content can fall into, so that I can expand my reach with
Yeah.
the same pin.
Okay, that's so cool. I need to go back to the topic of keywords for a minute. So I know keywords is something that comes up.
Mhm.
Uh, would you say, like, can you define what a keyword is exactly?
A keyword is a word or a phrase, a key phrase that represents your niche, your industry, or the topics that you write about. For example, if you are a yoga teacher for women,
Yeah.
your keywords may be yoga teacher, yoga poses, yoga training for women, that is, or yoga for women. That's also a
Yeah.
key phrase by itself.
Yeah.
So
Yoga outfits for women.
yes, yoga outfits. Yeah.
Yoga studio design.
There you go. All these keywords, they can be boards or they can be within your pin.
Okay. So do you think there's an advantage to having multiple boards with only a few pins in them? Or is it better to have, 2 or 3 boards with lots of pins in them?
2 or 3 boards with lots of pins in them.
Okay.
Because before you decide whether to create a board out of a keyword, decide whether you have more than 3 to 5 content, let's say different blog posts on that same topic, because you don't want to pin just add one pin to that very specific board, and you don't have more pins to add on that board will not gain traction.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Right. Because you want to be able to be consistent with your posting. So basically what you're saying is that if I created a board like Lauren's Monday yoga pose, right?
And if you have every Monday you come up with a new yoga pose, yes, you can create.
Okay, but if I say July 28th, Tuesday yoga pose, and there's only one that, or for the year or whatever, that might be more difficult. Okay, I understand. So basically what you're doing is you're creating yourself a category. You're putting all your pins that are related to that category. You're making sure that you're using words that support the category that you've put your pins in. And then when somebody goes in and they search for that similar category in Pinterest, what happens is your board could pop up. And the fact that you have a lot of pins, which are all being treated the same, they will then be shown as well, because I know that I've gone down the rabbit hole. Like Pinterest is a total rabbit hole. I'm sure we've all lost hours there, but you click on something and then you see more from this, and you actually look at someone's entire board, don't you? Because it's really
exactly.
a curating system.
Yes.
People have curated all the goods for you, and that's what you want to look at.
Yes. That's why some people will follow your specific board. You can follow a board, even if they don't follow your whole account, they can follow your board if they are only interested in that topic in that board on your profile.
Okay, that's awesome. So I have a couple of boards that are hidden boards. So those would do nothing for me. That would just be my own private.
That's for your own personal use. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's another mistake that I see many business owners make. They have, a business about, let's say, yoga again.
Yeah.
And
I love yoga, so I could talk about that forever.
I don't know much about yoga, to be honest. Anyway, so you have a business about yoga. You have a few boards here and there about yoga, but you also have a lot of boards about fashion, home decor. That's meant for your own use, not your audience may be interested in these topics, but that's not really the topic that you could talk about. You can keep that board as a secret for your own personal use. Yeah.
Okay. So my brand is, Rah Rah Consulting. I do consulting. I have a membership, a podcast. It's all about, lifting up people in business and in spirit. That's the whole, point of it. But I got a board on there that's all about food. And I think I have other boards on there that are available boards. They're not even locked, that have probably fashion for sure. Things like that. So are you suggesting that because they're not directly in line with my business branding, that it would be more advantageous for me to make them private?
Yes, I would think so.
Okay.
You can keep them there. But the thing is, when you see an increase in your monthly views, you may not know whether it's really coming from your business boards or from these food and other boards, because these may be bringing you a lot of views, but they are not engaging with your business board content,
Right.
That could be a possibility. So if you feel that, they are not relevant to your audience, don't keep them, you can keep them as a secret board.
Yeah. Okay. And when you're saying that, I'm understanding you clearly, because you're basically saying that, you're thinking about this from your business perspective, not from your, Lauren is just chilling on the couch looking for something to eat, right? Kind of
Yeah.
perspective. You want to keep everything in line with brand. And
Yes.
so, when you aren't confusing people with all the things that you're doing, when you're keeping it really on brand, really on focus, that allows you to build up your business, because that's what we're talking about right now. We're not talking about having a good time on Pinterest looking up yoga poses. We're talking about how to build a sustainable, profitable business, getting traffic to your podcast, getting traffic to your website, right?
Yes, you got it.
You need to make these decisions in your brain. Which brain am I, which head am I working with right now? My business head or my personal head? And that's why I
Yes.
guess they have business accounts as well. So you can easily create that separation and you don't have that
That's
blending of the
right.
two.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I probably should have had this discussion with you a long time ago, but it's okay. We're going there now. So it's fine. It's still early days. I can still get in on this.
Yeah, definitely.
So, May, let's talk about hashtags. So I didn't want to, because it's funny, because when you work in the industries like you and me, we tend to deal with people who are really, niche in certain areas. So I didn't want to take advantage of our friendship and ask you all about what I'm supposed to do without hiring you first to do that.
That's
So I
fine.
did my own research, and I was like, okay, I do put hashtags on Pinterest. So is that correct? And is there a way to use your hashtags, or are keywords enough to know what the content is and hashtags are just kind of BS?
Yes, Pinterest allows you to use hashtags, and hashtags on Pinterest is different from Instagram. On Instagram, you may write a hashtag that is more lifestyle. Maybe could be what community over competition, pursue pretty, that kind of, flowery
Okay.
words. But on
Like
Pinterest,
themes or something.
themes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, on Pinterest, it's what's simple is that you just use your keywords as hashtags. That's about
Okay.
it. So again, yoga poses, yoga training, use them as keywords and as hashtags at the end of your pin description, but
Yeah.
don't overdo it, because although Pinterest allows you to use about up to 20 hashtags, you just use maybe maximum three to six.
Okay.
You don't want to look spammy. And
Right. Yeah. Because that's why Pinterest is a lot about impressions, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah. That's
yes,
what, like, through the use of imagery, everything's so high quality
yes.
that, yeah.
And the other reason I'm using hashtag is because although hashtags, people on Pinterest use words to look for pins, they don't really use hashtags to look for pins.
Yeah.
However, Pinterest bots read the hashtags to index your pin. So they read your
Oh,
hashtags, they read your keywords. So it helps them better understand about your pin. So when I write hashtags, I tend to write it for Pinterest rather than for the users.
okay. Right. You're writing it
Yeah.
for the bot,
Yes.
basically. Yeah. Okay. So would an example of, let's use a business example if we can
Mhm.
for a second. So would you go hashtag business tips?
Yes, you can do that if that's your keyword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So, for example, for my own pins, if I have a blog post about Pinterest tips, my hashtags would be Pinterest tips, online business tips, Pinterest marketing, these would be my hashtags.
Right. Okay.
The only drawback, however, is we can't really, it's very hard to measure the whether hashtags are really bringing in traffic or not.
Right.
There's no way to track on Pinterest analytics at the moment, but I guess if you can use advanced measures like Google, UTM using analytics, we're not going to that topic, but
Yeah. But yeah, if
there
you're
may be a way
checking
to
your,
track. Yeah,
yeah.
you may have one pin description, one pin, the same pin, but you upload with pin description only, and another pin you upload with pin description plus hashtag, and you can see which
Yeah.
one performs better. That's one way to test it.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I think it's safe to include hashtags, no harm.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I love that. So, I guess where I'm, talking to you, I'm kind of recognizing that, business owners, you and I know all about this, time is not our friend sometimes. So we have to make
Yes.
sure that all the decisions that we're making are the
Mm-hmm.
best use of our time and creating the best return on investment, because that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand from what you were talking about how you need to show up consistently with anywhere from 5 to 10 pins a day, and that can be repinning stuff as well. And that stuff gets, that's very time consuming. So using a tool like Tailwind is going to be helpful. But
Yes.
I guess my question for you is, if you had to make a decision, and I'm putting you in a weird position because I know you're going to have to say Pinterest because maybe of your business, but do you think, knowing what you know, that Pinterest is almost a better investment than Facebook and Instagram if you had to choose where to manage your time? Because when you're talking to me, I'm thinking I need to drive people to the content I want them to see, which is my
Yes.
podcast, my website, and all these things. And if I'm
Yes.
not getting that kind of, traffic or traction on Instagram and Facebook, it almost seems to me to be a better return on investment to be working through Pinterest or on Pinterest more, you know, effectively and more consistently than I have been yet.
Mm-hmm. I guess it depends on your goals. If your immediate goal is to grow your email list, then Pinterest will be your best bet. Of course, you have to create regular content.
Yes.
Um, if you're trying to connect with, more like-minded business owners, you're trying to find people to collaborate with, I think Instagram or Facebook will be a great platform.
Okay.
In my own business, I don't see Pinterest and Instagram or Facebook as either or, but I see Facebook and Instagram as either or. So what I've been doing now is I focus my attention on Instagram. I to connect with other business owners, and I focus my attention on Pinterest to bring in more targeted traffic and leads.
Yes.
So how Pinterest has been helping me in my business is mainly to grow my email list. It's coming on autopilot.
Okay, girl, that's what I
Yeah.
need help with, because, one of the things that I'm realizing now is that, you own your email list.
Yes, that's
And if
true.
you own your direct communication line to your people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is so critical, because no matter who changes what algorithm wherever, you still have a direct line of communication to people that are engaging your content, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about that, actually, building an email list. So I created a lead generator, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes, actually, so our listeners at home can see it. And it was about, 33 content ideas for, to bring your social media next level or whatever. So I did this pin, or I did this download, and it had all the different things on there, and it had all the different, not the checklist, but the guide,
Mm-hmm.
basically the different theme ideas. And so I wanted to put it on Pinterest because I wanted to try to drive people to sign up for my email list to download this pin.
Right.
So then I thought to myself, wait a minute, I can't put the full image on there because somebody could just screenshot and take it, and then they won't have a connection
Yeah.
to them, right? So
Yeah.
then I thought, well, okay, I'm going to blur half of the image out. Now, this is what I sent to you, and I was like so proud of myself that I did this thing. And then that's when you were concerned that I basically wasn't giving the right impression, right? That
Mm-hmm.
I was giving the impression almost, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but this is what I kind of understood, is that I was almost making it look like the 33 download wasn't real, like that it was broken on some level, that you weren't going to get all the different, the different
Yes.
ideas. So you had me rework the subject. So I guess, do you have any thoughts a bit about that? How are the best ways to kind of share your content without people just taking it, or is that just a part of it as well?
Okay. So if we're talking about your let's say free content, freebie, when you promote that on Pinterest, one way you can do is, you have an enticing title, that talk about the benefit, not exactly a benefit, what this freebie offers in text, because your text overlay on your pin will tell the people what that's about. And then your visual, of course, you don't want to give the whole thing away. So if you are, let's say, promoting your freebie, you can have a screenshot of a small graphic, a sample of your freebie on the pin image itself. And it doesn't have to be showing everything inside the content, because it can be a small graphic. It's like showing people a mock-up or a sample of your content, of your freebie. So when you use a text, a title that's enticing to the readers, that pops up in the Pinterest feed, and also an image, a sample to go with it, people know that, oh, this is a freebie that you can download it from your website. And of course you want to state that it's free. And if you are uploading your blog post, you can use a visual, an image that matches your branding, and you can have text. Be sure to have text on it, because without text, people will not know what your pin is about.
Is there a limit with how much text you can have, May?
On the image? On the image, no.
Okay.
But of course, you don't want to have a wordy text. You want to think of mobile scrollers too, mobile users too. So when they scroll on their Pinterest feed, does your pin stand out in terms of colors you use and the text size that you use? Does it stand out? If you put too much text on your pin, it's not going to be able to. It's not going to be legible, and it won't pop up. You just want to draw attention with one title.
So are there other ways to stand out as well on Pinterest? So you've talked about, the importance of having a title, the importance of having, if you are concerned about not having a lot of content, reworking the graphics that you have that send people still to the same place.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked a bit about, the importance of maybe color or showcasing your brand. Are there other types of pins that you find that work well? Are images better than just maybe colors? Are there things that you see that work well over others?
I know there are some, articles out there saying this color works better on Pinterest than the other color. But I would suggest that you stick to your brand colors, because that will help people recognize your brand over time. Of course, if your brand colors are very dry, very limited, then you may want to add a few colors that matches the visual that you're using, so that they still look good to the eye, but be sure to include subtle brandings on your pin, like your logo, your subtle brand colors within that pin. So if you think that your brand color won't pop up on Pinterest because it has more earthly tones, more brown elements to it, you can spice it up a little with a pink text, for example, but keep your brand elements.
Would you say it's also helpful to look at the pins that you're drawn to and almost in some ways be inspired to recreate similar types of styles, or similar headlines, or similar layouts? I know Canva's got some great templates for Pinterest.
Yes, you can definitely.
It sounds to me like, with the Pinterest game, it's about being patient. It's about showing up consistently. It's about understanding that the rewards will come, even if it's not tomorrow, that they will, tomorrow never comes, obviously, but that, the fact is that sometimes we want things now, May. We want things to happen now. So when you're talking, you're actually, you got me thinking about, well, would it make sense to me to pay for my lead generating, post initially, or do you think that would hinder me first?
If you're planning to promote your pins, if you're planning to use ads, you can but start with something that, you know, you can get ROI on. Let's say your freebie opt-in, you know, you can, but not a regular blog post, because that's, you know, it brings in traffic, but if that traffic doesn't do anything,
right.
it may not be relevant, unless, of course, you know that that blog post is already bringing you a lot of traffic and organically, and you want to promote it. And on that blog post, let's say you have another way of bringing your customer to your funnel, like an email, you know, a freebie download within your blog post. However, I would suggest that you start with, you know, organic reach first, because I think if you go straight into promoted pins, I'm not so sure about that, but it won't hinder you from growing organically. However, you may not be spending, you may not get that much ROI on your money, on your spending. Yeah, because you're still trying to grow organically with Pinterest, and if you jump straight into ads,
and clearly you haven't listened to the whole conversation, because it's not about that. It's about building your brand over time, right? It's not about getting your one fix now. It's about, you know, building your brand, showing up consistently, and long-term marketing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So,
right.
you know, can you share a little bit about, you know, have you seen businesses get a lot of success from Pinterest? I mean, you've talked about being able to grow your email list. How have you seen Pinterest help businesses evolve and really stand out, I guess, or, you know, increase their conversions or their traffic?
Some of the clients I work with, for example, I have a few clients who are teachers who sell on teachers.com. They found that Pinterest is bringing them a lot of sales. They they have a pin for their educational materials, and then it links to their teacher-based teacher store. If they stay on that platform alone, of course they get the traffic that comes from within that platform, but from Pinterest, they were able, some of my clients, they mentioned that they were able to double their income by using Pinterest. Of course, if you have, that's, I'm talking about selling a digital product on a third-party platform, but most of us business owners, we may have our own website that we are trying to get traffic from Pinterest. Pinterest works like the top funnel. The platform that brings you traffic, you have to do something with that traffic. Your website needs to be prepared, to receive that traffic. Where are you bringing your customers to? When they reach your website, are you encouraging to sign up for your email list? Are you asking them to join your Facebook group, or are you bringing them to your sales page to, for them to sign up? So when you think about making money from Pinterest only brings you traffic, and it's how you plan your customer journey that matters.
It's kind of like, if you think about it in this way, you spend all this money on marketing to get people to come to your restaurant. As soon as they come to your restaurant, you have to have a table for them. You need to have a menu for them. You need to have drinks for them. You need to do all these things. You need to wine and dine. You need to have positive experience, like with the staff that are there. You need to think about what you're doing with them once you have their attention, because what Pinterest is doing, what I understand you saying, is that they're saying, here, we're getting you the attention of the people, but what are you going to do with them now? And if you're not clear on that, if I write just like a random blog about, hey, here's a playlist that I use when I'm feeling down. Okay, well, that's not going to convert into any kind of ROI. It's measurable. Like, that's not going to get me money in my bank. It's not going to get people in the spirit team. It's not going to get people maybe even listening to my podcast, right? They might just listen to the playlist and move along. So I love how you're making that, you're bringing up that conversation, because it's so important to say, hey, Pinterest is going to send people to where you tell them to go, but are you ready for them once they get there?
Yeah. I love your example about the restaurant.
Thank you.
I
But
like your analogy.
yeah, it's clear. Yeah, it's
It's
good.
true.
And
Yes.
it's so key because you don't want people to go, I've been using Pinterest for 3 months and it's not working, when really the problem probably lies with the fact that there's no call to action. When they get to where they're going, people don't know what to do. And in the kind of world that we live in, people want instant
Yes.
gratification, or they need to be told their next step because they're busy. There's flying
That's
things
right.
around them. There's shiny shit everywhere. And, they don't know what to do if you don't tell them, right? Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
that's really
All right.
true.
Well, is there anything that I didn't bring up or ask you, May, that you wanted to talk about? Any tips or tricks? I mean, you already went over so much stuff. We talked about boards. We talked about keywords. We've talked about Tailwind. We talked about the importance of showing up consistently. We talked about understanding that you're using your business brain, not your personal brain, when you're doing your boards. And maybe some of those delicious boards, like my food boards, should be kept separate so that my brand is really clear. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up that I didn't ask
Right.
you about or that you didn't mention?
If you only remember one thing from this, this whole conversation, I just want to summarize it for you, the key points. To simplify Pinterest for you, Pinterest is a search engine. So you need to know your keywords. You use keywords to get found in Pinterest searches, and you make sure that your pin images are attractive enough so that people click and go to your website. And you need to think of how you want to welcome people on your website. So these are the three things you need to remember. And one last thing, you have to be consistent on Pinterest. Keep uploading new content, new pin images regularly on a daily basis. And over time, you'll start to see your traffic grow.
That sounds great. I love that. So I think you're working on an ebook. Is that right? You tell me
Yes.
about that before we kind of wrap up.
Okay. So I'm working on a Pinterest strategy workbook so that you can, understand better how Pinterest works. What are the elements that are important on Pinterest, and how you can apply it to reach your business goals. So the ebook walks you through the things that you need to focus. It also gives you some tips and ideas how you can be consistent with Pinterest. Perfect. So that you start seeing results.
That's awesome. And what I'll do for our listeners at home is I'll put the link to all May's contacts, socials, website, all that stuff in the show notes as well. So you can check in on her progress on the book. And also, obviously, if they want to work with you, May, are you open for that?
Yes. Yes, of
there
course.
you go. So if you want an expert to be taking care of your Pinterest for you, which, for some business owners, it makes more sense to do that than to do the work yourself, because sometimes, in the business, depending on the business you're in, as the CEO of your business, you can only do certain things. And so it's better for you to be focusing on those things and then getting an expert like May to do, the other jobs for you that are very important. So, well, May, thank you so much for joining me today. I know I learned a lot. I feel like I have a lot of work to do, but I'm excited and I'm glad I found Pinterest now instead of in a couple of years where I'm a bit behind the 8 ball, especially with the fact that it takes time to, gain momentum. So yes. So thank you so much for sharing all your tidbits with us. I know I learned a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed the conversation.
It was great. Till next time.
Thank you, Lauren.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please do leave us a review where you listen to your podcast and share it with your friends. New episodes every Monday.